Good evening, Internet. Welcome back to another night of Talks about horror movies for probably far too long. I'm That's all just in the background. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Insidious series. With the new movie coming out, I rewatched all of them. So one, two, three, The Last Key, and The Red Door. If you haven't seen Insidious, I would highly recommend at least checking out the first one. The first one is kind of a good twist on the haunted house kind of formula. It's a young couple with two kids. They move into a new house. Strange paranormal things start happening, especially around one of their children, Dalton. Josh, the dad, is played by Patrick Wilson. He is not handling it well. He's staying around at the university after hours. He says that he's got a grade. He says he has to do overtime, but he's not actually doing it. He's just avoiding his family. Renee, played by Rose Byrne, is freaking out because she keeps seeing these ghosts in her house. And what is she going to do about that? But the twist on the formula is that it is not actually the house that is haunted. They sell their house, they move into a different one. Everything keeps happening. Eventually, they call Spectral Sightings, which is Specs and Tucker, and they realize that this family is haunted. And then they call the psychic Elise. Elise comes in and she says, "It's not the house that's haunted. It's Josh that is haunted." Josh is capable of astrally projecting into this other world called the Further, and he has passed his gift down to Dalton. So it's not a haunted house, it's a haunted person. In the fifth movie, The Red Door, we kind of come to understand this like astral projection curse is kind of like family trauma being passed down. It starts with Josh's father. Josh's father doesn't want to pass it down to his son. He says it ends with me. But then, of course, Josh gets the gift as well. And then he passes it down to Dalton. So it's this whole family trauma thing. In the second film, which is a direct sequel to the first film, Josh gets possessed and he is forced, his body is kind of forced to attack his family and especially his two kids. And so that imprints on them this scary image of their father attacking them. They do try to like wipe that out. They try to make sure that neither of them can remember that entire year between the first and the second movies. And then that comes back in the fifth movie. The villains of the first two movies, we get the Red Demon, who is trying to take Dalton for herself, and an old woman spirit who is possessing Josh. In the second one, we get the villain, the Bride in Black, who takes over Josh's body and uses his body to try to kill people in order to extend his own like unnaturally undead life. All of that is kind of contained to the first two movies, and then we split off with Chapter 3 and The Last Key. These follow the psychic Elise. At the end of the first movie, Josh strangles Elise to death, but she is a powerful psychic. She is a powerful medium. She is able to still contact them even from the other side. And her and Spectral Sightings go on to become kind of like a Scooby-Doo-esque, like Monster of the Week detective force. Insidious Chapter 3 jumps backwards in time to the first case of Spectral Sightings and of Elise, in which a apartment building is being haunted. A young girl is being haunted by a man who can't breathe. There's this spectral force that is following her around. She thinks that it's her mother, which is why she contacts Elise in the first place. But it's actually this man who can't breathe and wants to take over her body and do the same thing to her that the Bride in Black tried to do to Josh. Elise and Spectral Sightings eventually able to save the family, banish the ghost, all of that stuff. And then that leads into Insidious, The Last Key. This one, just the story of Elise. It's her childhood, growing up psychic, her abusive dad. Her abusive dad was keeping a woman in the a hidden room in the basement. And then once he passed away, somebody else moved in. And this guy was also keeping a woman in a secret room in the basement. And Elise comes to realize that it's not the men who are doing this. They're influenced by Keyface, who is using them to keep these women in the basement. And they are real monsters, but Keyface is kind of like the underlying cause of all of that. And then that brings us to Insidious, The Red Door, which jumps back to Josh and Dalton many years later when Dalton is going off to college. We start with Josh's mother, who was a character in the first two movies, passing away. The family goes to visit her funeral, and then Josh texts Dalton and is like, hey, can I drive you to college on Monday? And Dalton is like, I guess. I'm not really into it. There's this friction between the two of them. Josh grew up without a father. His own father disappeared when he was young because he wanted to like end the curse and not pass it on to Josh. So Josh has grown up without a father, and now he's taking out his anger on Dalton, who is growing up with these father issues. The ghosts kind of become this generational trauma, as I talked about before. And then Dalton, while he is at college, he starts experiencing these hauntings that plagued him when he was a child. And he finds his way into the further. He remembers his father attacking him, but he realizes that it wasn't actually his father. And at the end of the film, he kind of realizes that like forgetting about this trauma, trying to bury this trauma, it won't work. You have to face it. You have to own up to it. You have to integrate it into yourself in order to overcome this trauma. And he and his father kind of work together in order to seal the red door, which is holding the red-faced demon who we saw in the first film. So it all kinds of comes full circle. The next one, which comes out on Thursday, and I haven't seen yet, is Insidious Out of the Further. I have no idea what it's going to be about. I have seen the trailers. I know that there's a creepy dentist. I know that there's the tunnel of pillows that everybody's making fun of. That's about what I know. But I wanted to go by the directors and the screenplays, because James Wan and Leigh Whannell were the ones who kind of created the entire story of the first two movies. Leigh Whannell directed the third one. I didn't really think that the direction in the third one was as good as the first two. It is a clearer picture. It is a lot sharper of like camera work, but it doesn't have the same kind of like skill. It doesn't have the same kind of focus that the first two movies have. I think that James Wan did a better job directing. I think that Leigh Whannell is probably like the creative force behind the characters, which is why the third one has so much character work behind it. But I think that the directing took a step down in the third one. Adam Robitel is the director of the fourth one, The Last Key. And then Patrick Wilson, who plays Josh in the first two movies and the fifth movie, is also the one who directed the fifth movie. So, wanted to point all of that out, kind of wrap everything up before Thursday. I will see it probably either Thursday or Friday, and then I'll make a video about it then. But that's kind of the overarch of the story. So the first two movies, you've got Josh and Renee and Dalton, and then it moves on to follow Elise for two movies, and then it jumps back to Josh and Dalton and Renee. So I am looking forward to this new one, chapter 6, Out of the Further, and we will hopefully have another good movie on our hands. So I will be back later this week to talk about it. I hope that you guys are looking forward to it. Let me know if you like these movies. Do you find these interesting? Do you like the direction? Anything like that. What are you thinking? And then I will come back. I'll kind of respond to those in the follow-up video. So yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all for joining me for another night of talking about horror movies for probably far too long. I love you. I'll see you in the next video. Good night.